All right, this is our video on the endocrine system in the chapter on Introduction to Anatomy. And this is an important enough system that I want to do a quick overview in this opening chapter. So what is the endocrine system? We're talking about glands. So this is a system of glands. And in your body, you have two types of glands. You have endocrine glands and you have exocrine glands. Endo means within or inside. And crine means to secrete. I'm going to give myself a little autofocus here. I think it's a little blurry. Okay, so we're going to secrete within. An exocrine gland, on the other hand, so let's write exocrine, means to secrete to the outside. So exocrine is out, and crine is secrete. So what is the difference between an endocrine gland and an exocrine gland? An endocrine gland is going to secrete into the blood or a tissue. Going to secrete into the blood or a tissue, but an exocrine gland is going to secrete either into a duct inside the body or out, is literally outside the body. In the case of sweat glands or oil glands, we're going to secrete onto the surface of the skin. So here we're going to secrete into a duct or the surface of the body. Surface, which is our skin. So when we're looking at the endocrine system, all of these glands are going to secrete within. They're going to secrete into the blood or tissue versus exocrine glands. We're going to look when we get into tissues at some of the exocrine glands in a little bit more detail. So I want to hit the endocrine glands here. You have a list here of all of the major endocrine glands of the body. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 main ones. Some of these are familiar to you, some of these are not. Like, for example, the ovaries and the testes. You learned about those probably in health class. Testes are going to produce testosterone, and the ovaries are going to produce estrogen. The ovaries are going to produce estrogen. And these are our sex hormones. They're the hormones that make female, female, and male, male. And they shape the development as we go from the embryo to all the way through adulthood. And even as we get past adulthood, if you have issues that you have to have your ovaries taken out, you stop producing estrogen, or you have a situation where you don't have testosterone, it can affect you as well. So we call these the sex hormones. So understand that both of these are sex hormones. The pineal gland, so let's just start at the top. The pineal gland produces melatonin. And this regulates your sleep cycle. So some of you might take melatonin if you have trouble sleeping, and it's actually, I mean, it's a good solution to being having insomnia. Melatonin will make you sleepy. Your body produces it naturally here. We're going to wait on the hypothalamus because that is going to be in our brain chapter. We're going to see that the hypothalamus provides a connection between the brain and this next very important gland called the pituitary. And I'm going to do this in purple. When I write about it over here, it'll be in purple. Pituitary. And we call this the master gland. Why? Because this is the switch, the on-off switch for the thyroid, for the ovaries, for the testes, for these adrenal glands. So this turns on and shuts off the ovaries, testes, adrenal, and the thyroid, just to name a few. So if you think about it like, let's say that these are structures in your home. Maybe your thyroid is your air conditioner, and maybe your ovaries or your your oven and so on and so forth. This would be like the circuit breaker where you could shut them off and on. These each have their own internal control, but then this is like the master control. So this will kick them off and on. And it's really amazing how much the pituitary regulates other things that, and this is just a partial list. This is not the whole list, but we call it the master gland. So what do some of these other glands do that we don't, we're not that familiar with? I'm going to do the parathyroid and the thyroid in green, because we're going to talk about these together. We're going to do a lot when we get into bone physiology. We're going to talk about the parathyroid and the thyroid a lot. So the parathyroid will increase the calcium level. And the thyroid will lower the calcium level. So we said glands secrete. Each of these glands secretes its own hormone. Parathyroid releases parathormone, and the thyroid releases, oh gosh, I believe it's I want to say calcitonin. Don't quote me on that. I have to fact check that. It's been a while since I've done the calcium cycle, but we're going to get to that later. But together, these two work to keep the calcium cycle. I'm a little off screen here. I'm going to come over. This keeps your blood calcium level constant within a certain range. And we learned back in biology class that we call that homeostasis. So this constant is homeostasis. And this really is the function of the endocrine system. The whole job for the endocrine system is to maintain homeostasis. So this is the purpose for the endocrine system. Is to maintain homeostasis. And the way it's going to do that is through this raising and lowering. There's two different ways. They're called feedback loops. And this video is going a bit long. So you know what? I think we'll do feedback loops and the rest of our glands on a second video, part 2. So we're going to call this part 1.